focus on hitting your goals in every area of your business. Remember, the universe rewards the bold. Welcome to the Wealth on the Beach podcast. My name is Daniel Alonzo, and of course, I am your host. It's episode number 42, and we got the incredible, legendary Matt Manero. Matt launched his first company, Commercial Fleet Financing, in 1995 with a phone, a folding table, and the unyielding confidence of a single client, a trucker. Fast forward 23 years, his company has funded over $1 billion in transportation equipment with annual business, over $150 million, has served more than 10,000 clients, has become one of the largest independently owned transportation equipment finance companies in America, three-time winner of the SMU Cox School of Business, 100 fastest growing companies. Matt Manero, man, you're killing it, brother. Hey, let me ask you this. Why do we need more money, man?
Dude, we need more money to help more people. We don't need it to buy the stuff. We need it to help more people. And it's a mission that you and I share. We need to help people understand that they are underprepared financially. They don't know it. And the only time they do know it is when something tragic happens, which is what happened in our lives and what created my book, You Need More Money. I mean, that book never lived in me, Daniel. It was not as, some authors say, oh my gosh, I needed, this book was in me my whole life. This book was not in me my whole life. I had no interest in writing this book until my brother-in-law, John, my wife's only brother, was diagnosed with cancer at 46, and he ended up dying. He left a wife and 4 kids with no health insurance, no life insurance, and $100 in the bank. And we were able to see 2 sides of life, my friend. We saw the first side, which is how the hell does that happen after a guy busts his butt for 25 years? How does he end up with tragic news and no money? And then we also saw the other side of it, which is how do we, have our financial security in place and drop in and remove his financial worries to try to get him better. Unfortunately, he didn't get better. He died almost 1 year to the day. And it's the premise, it's the storyline, it's the backbone of the book, You Need More Money.
Well, that's obviously very interesting to me because I've been in financial services and, I've paid, I think, $103 million in death claims.
Yeah, man.
Okay, over the last 20 years. And
that's why we're kindred spirits, man. That's why we're doing this today, because you and I share the same mission, which is how do we help people wake up and make just a few small moves, Daniel, that can remove this problem. How did my brother-in-law not have an insurance policy? For a couple $100 a month, he could have had an insurance policy that would have fixed the entire financial problem for his family, but he didn't. And as I've begun to realize, and I know you've made a big career out of it yourself, this isn't unique. This is happening everywhere. How are we so grossly underprepared financially that when tragic news strikes, it becomes too late for us to fix the problem? And that's what happened in our family. And it's put me on this mission, man, this mission to help wake people up to the fact that we need more money.
Well, I'm inspired, buddy. I'm inspired. Hey, we're going to get into that, Matt, a little bit more today. But the first thing I always like to do is I want my audience to get to know Matt Manero because I'm inspired by you. I want to know, where'd you grow up, man? What did your parents do? What was your childhood like?
I grew up in Connecticut. My real dad split when I was 6 months old. He left my mother and I high and dry. We ended up moving in with my grandparents, which was I guess what you just sort of did back then to survive. My mom is a survivor. She ended up remarrying when I was about 9 or 10. And that guy became my father figure. But he was an extremely tough guy, really, really difficult. And to be frank with you, and I'm not pulling the Me Too card, but I suppose today you would have called him verbally abusive to the extreme. He was a really tough guy. Every day, my father told me how stupid I was, and what an idiot and a moron and a retard that I was. And I'm not kidding you. Every day I woke up with that until I split at 18, went off to college. I wasn't a great student in high school. I was a good athlete like you. I got hurt my senior year in high school. That killed football scholarships and that sort of stuff for me. I had a bad neck injury, and that was the end of that road. And so, I only applied to one school. It's the only school I knew about. I got into it, and it was called Johnson and Wales College at that time. It's now called Johnson and Wales University in Providence, Rhode Island, and I went there to be a chef. And that was the only path that sort of showed itself to me. My father never talked about college one time. I didn't have a coach talk to me about what I'll do after this neck injury. I didn't have an uncle jump in and help me. I mean, literally it was no man's land. And I learned that I'm pretty comfortable in no man's land. It's a pretty good space for me. And I think DNA wise, it was a good place for me. I think I'm a scrapper and a fighter. Unfortunately in business, that's really not the greatest mindset. Maybe in the startup phase, in the early days, you need it, but there does come an evolution when scale happens in your business where, that mindset can actually cause more damage than it does growth. And we experienced that here at Commercial Fleet where, I beat this place with a stick, man, for way too long until I realized that we need to pull people up rather than push people. And that has really been the transformation that I've had over the last 5, 6, 7 years in trying to become a great leader and get this business to the next level. But I don't apologize for it, man. I didn't know any different. I just figured that that's what business was. It was push the rock up the hill as hard as you possibly can for as long as you have to till you get to the other side. And the other side, I mean, is what I call the pleasure side of small business, where most people stay stuck in the pain side, man.
Well, I relate a lot to what you're talking about. I mean, I mean, now granted, my stepfather ended up being a great guy. I mean, I lucked out on that deal, but I was by myself. I was trying to figure things out. I didn't get a whole lot of, hey son, that type of, dad leadership type stuff.
What happened to your real dad, if you don't mind me interrupting?
Well, my real father, my parents got a divorce when I was about 7, 8 years old or something like that. And so my real father, he had always stayed in my life, but it was like the weekend, or it was me sitting on the corner waiting for him to pick me up and never showed up, that kind of shit, and so but I took the best. And my stepdad, he was more of the quiet type, so he was a really good guy. He taught me a lot of things, but never really that, take me out fishing and, let's go shoot some stuff. You know what I mean? And so for me, I think I relate a lot to you because I'm a scrapper too. And in business, if somebody were to ask me what's a big mistake that I made, is I beat that stick pretty hard too, and I was really, really tough. Now I believe that got me to a certain level, but getting to that next level, there's gotta be an evolution. And so you saying that, you talking about that is very, very insightful. So thank you for that. Tell me about you and your wife. Now pronounce your wife's name for me, please.
It is Rocky, Rokki, on her birth certificate as Rocky.
Okay.
Okay. Believe me, there's a lot of days where she reminds me of the movie. She's tough as nails.
Oh, she is tough as nails. Where'd you guys meet, man?
We met out one night. I had quit drinking in 1997, March of 1997, and a buddy of mine drugged me to a little concert in a little bar here in Dallas. And wouldn't you know it, I actually sat next to Rocky at that concert, and we pretty much became inseparable after that. I mean, I'm proud to say my wife and my 3 boys have never seen me take a drink. There's no alcohol in our house. I'm perfectly fine if friends come over. I'll buy lovely wine and we'll have a great time. But alcohol since March of '97 has never been part of my life. It's something I'm I cherish. My sobriety is something I cherish in the same light as I cherish my wife and my children and my business. It's that important to me, man. I have very strong opinions on it. I think it's a very messy lifestyle when alcohol and drugs play a big part in it. Now, for a period, I transferred that addiction to food, to hamburgers and cigars and all that stuff too. I mean, it's not so easy to quit, but I never went to an AA meeting. I never did anything. I never read the little blue book. I just made a decision on March 17th, 1997, that I would never have another drink, and I never looked back. So
isn't it interesting, Matt, that one decision, you're like one decision, and people, they think they got to go to like some psychiatrist for the next 10 years to try to figure things out. And I just think it's just such bullshit, man. I mean, I think some of those psychiatrists are such scam artists, man. And because it's a decision. You made a decision and you stuck to your guns and you did it. And that's what's made you successful. There's no question about that.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you 1,000%. I think people have a complete misconception of what change is. Change doesn't have to take a long time. It can take an instant. And unfortunately, some of us change when, the news is so bad, right? We're going broke, so I better hustle at work, right? Or, I have a heart attack, so I better get in shape. Or my wife is threatening to leave me, so I better care about her, I mean, decisions happen in instants, just like you said. And those are the best decisions, the ones that take too long. It's even when we hire people here, that guy who says, I need to think about it after the third interview, we're like, dude, it's over. You're not, what else is there to think about it? You just need to, you've seen everything. We've shared everything with you. It's time to shit or get off the pot. And I really look for that quick decision-making in people. And I do it in myself too, man. I require I just lost 50 pounds and I made the decision that I was going to lose 50 pounds on my 50th birthday. And that was the end of it. I mean, it just was going to happen, and it did happen. It happened a week early of February of this year. And, again, I'm constantly forcing myself to take in the data, to analyze it quickly, to gut check it, and then go. Make the decision and go.
Good for you. Good for you. John, Jack, and Julian, right? Your boys.
Those are our babies.
That's your studs, huh, man? So they like to hunt and they like to fish, man. They like to shoot stuff, right? So.
Well, they like to do a lot of things. I mean, they love sports. I wish they loved school a little bit more than we do.
No, it's good that they're competitive, man.
They're great. I am totally blessed with three incredible boys. I've been married 20 years, been together 22. The business is celebrating our 24th year in business this year after a record 2018. So, look, I got a lot to be thankful for, but there's a lot more that I want to do too, buddy.
It's awesome, man. And so as far like, who was your first mentor? Like looking back, who was that person that, man, took you under their wing and helped you get to that next level?
Nobody. Warren Buffett says, show me your hero and I'll show you how your life turns out. And when I heard him say that, I began to reflect, and I literally never had a hero. I never had a mentor. I truly don't ever remember anyone coming into my life and saying, you know what, Manero, you got some talent in this area and this is where you should go. But I did recognize early on in my life that I better find some, and I found them in books, man. And I found them in videos. I mean, I bought Tony Robbins' Personal Power in 1991 and listened to it till the tapes broke. And I found mentors that were not physical for me. They were just audio or in books, and then obviously now in video form. And I would love to say that I had someone that took me under their wing, but I didn't, man. And what a shame, because who knows what the hell I could have been if somebody did that and pointed me in a different direction. I truly had to find my own road from my earliest of memories. And it's a massive pain point for me. I really wish someone had come in and given me a little bit of guidance, because I made it very hard on myself, man.
Hey, look, I believe, though, honestly, that, I mean, Tony Robbins was probably one of your early mentors. I mean, somebody like that, where you listen to those tapes. So, I mean, I remember Tom Hopkins.
Sure.
I listened to Tom Hopkins tapes
Yep.
until they blew up, right?
Mm-hmm,
until the little, the string, they would get all messed up.
Yeah.
And same thing with
You'd
Tony
put a
Robbins.
pencil in and you'd rewind it with a pencil tip.
Exactly. And I remember in my mom's house, I'm 21 years old. I go into business. I go to Tony Robbins' seminar. I bought the whole, 30-day cassette, couple $100, which I did not have at the time.
Yeah.
And it changed my life. I mean, every single day I listened to that thing. Even on the weekends, they had like a subliminal music on the weekends. Do you remember that?
The last two cassettes.
The last two cassettes was a subliminal, but I did it. I still have the notebooks today, man. I did every exercise. I followed it to the T. I wanted to win so fucking bad, man. I'm telling you. And that, to me, that energy because I know you had that kind of energy to try to get better and to learn back then. And that's why you went through those courses. That's why people today that are listening, most people don't have mentors. Most people don't have somebody to take them under the wing. Somebody like you though, Matt, I get your book, which by the way, I listened to it on Audible. And so I loved your, You Need More Money. And it was amazing. I've told a lot of people to go buy that book. It's an amazing, amazing book. But you're a mentor. You can be that person to so many other people. And so God bless you for that, man. Hey, risk so healthy in our lives?
Yeah, I don't know why we fear it so much. I mean, risk is mitigated through information. And the reason that we feel so risky is in certain things is because we just haven't done the work, that we haven't done the research and analysis to mitigate the risk. And, the most successful people that I know collect tremendous amounts of data, and that data reduces the risk, and it also helps them in making their decisions. So, we feel risk because we haven't done the damn work. And that is the work to mitigate risk is either action or research or analysis. Otherwise, we're just sitting in just total fear of something that really probably shouldn't make us so fearful. It's because we haven't done the work. That's why we have risk.
Leadership. You're a leader. You've obviously built your company to an incredible size today, been hugely successful. And so my audience is a bunch of small business owners. How my business operates, and we build teams and we build organizations, and we're trying to raise our leadership. So is there some sort of advice that you would give that new leader that's got a team of 10 or 15 or 20 people to make things that they need to make sure they're doing to raise their level of leadership?
Well, look, I think it's the ultimate question, and there's really two divergent paths there. The first path, that I talk about it in the book, is what I call unbridled ambition. I don't think most of us are ambitious enough. Clearly, you are. You always have been. It's probably hard for some people to relate to you in that regard, because I think a lot of people are wondering, why don't I want it as bad as Daniel wants it, right? Why does Daniel seem to always be able to move the needle higher and higher and higher, and I can't? And so I think the first phase of it is you got to tap into unbridled ambition. You got to want it, man. And most people don't. They want it until it gets difficult. And I don't want to be cliche about this comfortable and uncomfortable thing, because we hear a lot of it on social now. But the reality is, to go from nothing to something, you have to live deeply in uncomfortable for a long period of time. And people don't like it. They live until it gets uncomfortable. By the way, there's a fantastic book out called How Bad Do You Want It? Have you read the book?
No, I have not, but I will.
And the guy in the book, he talks about the perception of difficulty. He interviews tons of people who have run like 100-mile races and stuff like that. And why do some people complain about running a mile and some people can run 100? And he comes down to this simple perception of the level of difficulty. And I think we all can get a recalibration of the perceptional level of difficulty in our lives. We need difficulty, man, in that early phase to get great. But once you get some scale in your business, and you reference, 15, 20 person teams, it's a totally different ballgame, because now that unbridled ambition can create resentment in your team. And so you have to literally switch to become a servant leader. And I look, this foreign stuff for me, servant leadership, for the first 15 years of my career. Trust me, I was not a servant leader. I was a dictator. And I helped a lot of people be successful that way too, but I also pushed a lot of people away, man. I ran people off probably way too early, Daniel. I can only imagine if I was a better leader in the early days, how many more people we would have and how much larger we would be, right? But we have to make the shift. And I was just thinking about this morning because I got to go to Nashville in a couple of weeks and talk to a group, and they want to talk about the formulation of teams. And the one thing that people need to understand is they literally have to build out this org chart in a leadership team. And most business owners put themselves at the top as a CEO. And I challenge that because most of us are not prepared to be a CEO. A CEO is a very different role than the company founder or the number one sales guy. The CEO is a servant leader who cares more about their people than they do about themselves. And that is a tough pill for the entrepreneur who started from nothing to buy into. But it is the movement in our country, in our society, in business. If we don't embrace this servant leadership, we will never be able to pull people along with us. And you can see it in the workforce that you're developing. We have to care more. Those days of the 80s and 90s and even the early 2000s where, the leader worked alongside, it's not enough, man. The leader has to work in front. I don't mean you got to sell deals and close policies and, fix the air conditioning machines with your team. You have to lead through vision. And it's taken me a number of the last few years to figure this out, that great CEOs are tremendous visionary leaders. They are not in the trenches with their people anymore. Maybe they needed to do that at a period of time. In fact, they probably did. But great CEOs are visionary leaders. They are not necessarily the guys that pick up the shovel and dig the ditches anymore. And that's a huge disconnect for most entrepreneurs who start from nothing.
Give me an example of like a visionary leader. I mean, what does that mean really to you?
Sure. So tell me where the business wants to go. That's the first question. For us, we have a goal to do 300 million a year by year end 2020. So my job is to thump that message, is to tell that message, to explain to people this is where we're going. It is not for me to get in the trenches and show everybody exactly how to do it. Now we have built CFF University, which is our internal training system where we can hire people, plug them into the system, and they can do well. But my job is to manage the vision and the culture of the organization. And by the way, that 15 or 20 person company that you were referencing, sooner or later, they better put that management team together too. It's absolutely vital. We're on management team 2.0. So we've changed out the roster in our management team. This is the second version of it. The first is me doing everything. The second was hiring the accountant and the office manager and the sales manager. And then that was fine until you realize that those people are not good enough to connect to your vision as the leader because you're not done yet. You have more ambition. You want to go to the next step. And it gets really hard to change out that roster again. And we've had to do that in the last 18 months. And I think we have an incredible executive management team now, but you have to build a team of people once you start to hit scale. And that 15 to 20 person is probably the zone where that begins to become important. And then when you get to the next level, let's just say 50 people, then you really better have a great management team. And to me, a management team is operations, sales, marketing, and without question, people fall down on this, it's accounting. You got to have a great controller, bookkeeper, CPA, whatever term you want to call it. And so here's where it gets difficult, and then I'll shut up for a second. As the owners, sometimes we have to take a step back to take 2 steps forwards. And I'm talking about money, because the great ones on your executive management team don't come cheap. You got to pay up. And that means you may have to take a pay cut as the owner, right? You're real flush, you're loving it, but you don't have an executive management team, so you're doing everything. Well, try going home and telling your wife, baby, for the next 12 months, we're gonna make less money. Why? Well, because we're building a great executive management team. Who cares? No, baby, this is what I need to do. I got to get out of the weeds, man. I got to be a CEO. I got to lead. And I got to take some of these profits that we've been enjoying. I got to put it into people. And she says, you're nuts, man. I don't want that lifestyle. I don't want to do that. That's when it gets tough, man. That's when it all gets tested.
Yeah, it's interesting because people they're loving making the money, but putting it back into their businesses, investing into their business. I, I mean, the truth is I always felt like investing into my business was what was going to keep me in the game as long as I needed to stay in the game. I mean, I always thought about the future. I always had a vision for what was possible over the mountain. So I was shooting for the stars, I mean, at every moment, but I always knew that if I didn't invest in my business, if I didn't stay one step ahead, I wasn't going to make it. And
well, Daniel, people don't understand money too. I mean, listen, if you're running a business that operates at a 20 or 25% profit margin, it's a great place to put your money, right? But people don't understand that. I mean, they want to go and do mutual funds at 5 and 6% rates of return when you can make 25% just by putting more money into your business. It's a great investment. And people just don't understand that basic concept of where can I get the greatest return? And often it's by putting it back into our business.
yeah, and also into ourselves. That's why it's important. I mean, obviously you put on your BFS summit, and it's events like that. It's conventions, it's retreats, it's reading the right books, paying for mentorship. That's also an investment in. Would you agree, into your business?
Totally. I mean, I believe in that, but I will also say one thing to maybe the more seasoned listener, that sooner or later you do have to stop being the student and eventually become the teacher. There comes a point where you've learned all you need to learn at those conferences and the books and the tapes, and you need to just put it into action and begin to share it with other people. Our friend Hank Norman talks about it. He says one of the most difficult things for entrepreneurs is to unpack their expertise, right? We think it's so simple. Why can't everybody figure it out? And when you move yourself into a teaching mindset, it really begins to flush out the level of simplicity that is required to teach people. And so I do challenge people, man, you got to skill up. You got to learn, you got to immerse yourself, but sooner or later, you got to put that stuff to work. And you and I see a lot of the same faces at these events. And it's, sometimes it's unfortunate for me because I'm like, didn't I see it like 3 of these events this year? Like, how come you're not at work, man? Didn't you learn enough in the first couple? You don't need to be here, dude. You need to be back at your business. The answer isn't here. The answer is you doing work back at your business.
Yeah, but that's too hard. Come on, man.
It's too hard.
That's too hard, man. I mean, I think like this is way more fun. I could sit in my seat. I could eat a hot dog. And
I get to bullshit everybody. I get to tell everybody how great I'm doing. Nobody knows the real truth. All that
shit, man. Oh, this is so easy, man. I mean, becoming wealthy in America is so easy.
Just another conference. That's all.
That's it. Another conference, man. Why should people build their personal brand, and what does that mean to you?
Look, when someone Googles your name, they better find something. And I don't know if you've read the book, The Challenger Sale by Matt Dixon, but I was at something a week or two ago, and Matt Dixon we had lunch there, and he said that 57% of the buyer's decision is made before they even make the phone call to the company that they're interested in doing business with. And so when you just expand on that a little bit, where does that 57% of research go? It goes to Google. So you better have something show up. And I would challenge you that it's more than your LinkedIn account. Why don't you have some blogs? Why don't you have a book? Why don't you have some videos out there for people to see it? I mean, it's the know, like, trust thing, right? And for us, it was difficult for me to become the front man of our business. But I can tell you, there isn't a customer that comes into our office today to sign a set of contracts to finance their equipment with us that has not watched our videos. Every single one of them comes in and says, "Oh, I watched your video on this or that, and I really enjoyed it." That's how you get past know, like, and trust. That's why they're doing business with you. So the personal brand is vital. I think most people make it more difficult too, Daniel, than they need to. You don't have to be Cardone, right? I mean, he's a one in a billion guy. Vaynerchuk and Frizella and Milet. Those guys they're not what we should be aspiring to in a personal brand. We should just tell our damn story a couple dozen times and let it live in the ecosystem of the internet for the first phase of a personal brand. Now, if you want to be an influencer, that's different. But if you just want to get known and not unknown, it's far easier than we think. Just put some shit out. Hit record. Write a little bit. Get a self-published book. Speak a few times a year. That's about all you need, man, to get past the initial phase of know, like, and trust.
If you could just shut off your Netflix for a little while, you know what I mean? If you could, imagine the hours that you could get back. I mean, instead of watching Netflix, in that 1 hour or 2 hours or however many hours you watch Netflix, you could write a blog, man.
Yeah.
You could make a whole set of videos and plan out your entire week to make sure that every day you have posts. Instead of doing that, you can do this. And to me, it's been immeasurable. My business is going in such an amazing direction right now. And again, I've really haven't even started yet. I mean, I've been really doing social media for about a year now. I mean, like seriously for about a year. And so like, I don't even have very many sponsored ads out yet. I have not even really pushed money behind it for some other logistic reasons. But the point is that, man, it's unbelievable what's happened so far. And it's amazing what could happen in the future.
I think people do have a very slighted view of it, though. They think that they have to be like a Cardone. And I would just challenge your audience that hill is so high that you don't have to be him to have a personal brand. You just have to probably have more than you already have. And, you know, everyone has conflicts at their offices and, you know, what will my boss think about this? It's all about transparency, man. Just tell a little story, you know, just share some of your own stuff. What you're going through. You know, the greatest way to create content is what's the problem you're experiencing right now, and just hit record on it. There's an audience for everybody, man. Put it out there. And by the way, if your boss doesn't like that or company doesn't like that, well, you know what, man, maybe it's time to move on. I mean, maybe it's not the right company for you. But I do challenge people in this regard that, you know, personal branding, you must decide if it's going to be monetized or if it's going to be for the benefit of others before you start. Yeah, because I've gone back and forth on it so many times. You mentioned BFS, or my business finishing school business. And what most people don't know is that I actually sold my interest in that business about 30 days ago. And it's an incredible story of how a perfect partnership can exit. But I didn't want to be in that business anymore. I didn't want to be in the event business anymore. It just was no longer really aligning with what I wanted to do. I want to just share some of my stuff on my own version of it. I love my podcast. I like writing. I like putting out videos, but I just don't like, you know, having an audience of 300 people that, you know, only about 25 are going to do anything with what you're teaching. It really disheartens me. And so I just want to do my version of it. You know, I don't want to chase anybody else's version of personal branding. I just want to do my thing.
It's awesome. It's awesome. How do you know Hector Lamarck, man? A lot of my audience knows Hector. So, and I know you have a friendship. How did that build and how did that start?
It came through Cardone, my friendship with Cardone. We did the introduction that way. And, you know, I just have tremendous respect for Hector. You know, from his upbringing, very, very challenging upbringing, total transformation of rebuilding his mind the way he wants his future to be, which I'm a huge believer in. And then, you know, I also love his longevity. The thing that I love the most about Hector Lamarck is he's made a lot of money for a long time. And that's really cool when you can be around people who, you know, didn't make it over the last couple of years. They've made it for a long time. Real money for a long time is impressive to me.
Hey, so let's talk sales, man. You know, obviously you have mastered the art of sales. You've been in sales for a long, long time. Why is it so important that people master that craft?
You know, I think selling is really a self-reflection activity. And people are afraid to do self-actualization, man. They're really afraid to be a trustworthy person. If you're a trustworthy person in your life, you can be an amazing salesperson because you're going to do what you say you're going to do. There are real skills that need to be developed at it. There's a real numbers game to it. There's a real force required to it. But people are afraid. Look, it's also one of the reasons why I would say everyone needs to write a book. You know, my first book, The Grit, self-published. It's 100 pages. It's about an hour and 15-minute read. It's about 18,000 words. And that was a very cathartic book for me to write. It flushed out a lot of these things that I didn't have clarity on in my life. And by putting it down in the book, it was very beneficial. Everybody should write a book. Selling the book is a different ballgame, but I give away The Grit. You know, I think we have it on Amazon for $2.99, and it's free if someone wants to go to mattmanero.com/a-grit download. You get the book for free. I didn't write it to make money. I wrote it to clear up some of the head cheese that still existed in my opinions and my thought processes. And so, you know, selling, to get back to your question, is vital because people think that you're going to reduce your expenses to get rich, and you're not. It just won't happen. Now, I go to the grocery store and I see the people you know, putting in their code for the whatever the discount, and they got the whole keychain with all the different, you know, where you are, it would be, what is it, Randall's? What's the grocery stores out there? What are they called?
Bonds. I mean, you know, Bonds. Sprouts, stuff like that. Yeah.
They all have those things, right? And they're making sure that, oh no, it's not. Let me scan the thing. Listen, man, that mindset will not help you in the long run. We have to be revenue generated and revenue focused. And that only comes from selling, convincing people that your product is a requirement. And by the way, most people sell shitty products. And so that's why selling is so hard. They don't believe in what it is they're selling. I always believe that our company, it's core value number 3. I always believed from day one, when I needed the money so desperately, that I would always recommend the program that benefits the client before benefiting me. It's core value number 3 in our company. And, you know I've left millions of dollars on the table because of that core value, but I know I've made millions of dollars because of that core value too. So, you know, when you get that level of clarity in what you're doing and your communication with people, you're going to win at the game of sales. You're going to be okay. The problem is most people don't talk to enough people, right? I mean, it is a numbers game. We got to knock on doors, man. We got to pick up the phone. I believe the phone's coming back, by the way. And I believe direct mail's coming back. We have a new director of marketing. We're getting ready to push out a massive direct mail campaign into our industries again, which, you know, we're going to do it, you know, in a very attention-grabbing, graphic way. There's going to be some stuff that's probably going to make most people stop and say, whoa, why is this, you know, scantily clad secretary with a clipboard in my mailbox? Well, because the tagline is going to say, did you know we did this? And then you turn it over and it has all these products and services that we do. But guess what? Someone's going to look at that postcard. I promise you. A tower, a trucker, a construction guy, a moving guy, they will look at that postcard.
Hey, you know, I think what you said about sales, about being trustworthy and doing what you say you're going to do. I mean, it's so critical to your success because, like, look, man, I mean, flakes just don't make it. In my opinion, I mean, flaky people don't make it. Excuse-making flaky people, it's very difficult for them to really make it. And in my opinion, in anything in life, they let down a lot of people. And you know, credibility is you know, you only have so much credibility. And
dude,
once once that change is gone, once the credibility is gone, it's very difficult to regain it. You have any thoughts on that? I mean, credibility.
Well, I mean, look, I work out with a personal trainer who's really, you know, helped me a lot in this weight loss. And to be frank, it wasn't just about working out with him. He really helped me with some mindset shifts on visualization of really what do I want myself to look like, right, moving forward in the second half of my life, 50 beyond. But, you know, he talks about infidelity a lot. And he just, in fact, this morning in our workout, he said that he remembers asking me about that like 6 months ago. And I said, it's a non-issue for me, dude. It would never, ever, ever happen. I would never disgrace myself and my 3 boys to ever cheat on the rocker. Now that took him by surprise because I think he may have had a little infidelity. I don't know, but whatever. But it's just a decision, going back to exactly what we started with, man. And it's a decision based on ethics and integrity. My boys would never be able to look at me that I broke the family trust like that. It's just that simple for me. Period. End of story. Over and done with. Closed. Case closed. Non-issue. So I don't know, man. Maybe I'm oversimplifying it for most people because maybe people got bad marriages. And trust me, the rocker and I have had lots of ups and downs, right? It has not always been, bliss for us. But through it all, and I love it. An old guy once told me this. I said, how did you stay married for all these years? He says, neither of us wanted to quit on the same day. And I like that, that's pretty good advice for a marriage. Hope you don't want to both quit on the same day.
Hey, so what, as far as like, why should, because obviously I talk a lot about passive income, mm-hmm. and I talk about residual income. And by the way, that's why Hector has been making so much money for so long, for so many years. And so, and that's the story of my life. I was 28 years old. I was financially independent. I've been, so the point is this, is that why is it so critical that people seriously figure out ways to build passive long-range income? Because again, we don't know what could happen with our health, but why is that critical, man?
Well, I think it's more than just health. We don't know what's going to happen with regulation. We don't know what's going to happen when 2 planes hit skyscrapers. We don't know what's going to happen with competition. There's a lot of things that we cannot control. And so, by the way, the other element of passive income is that, and the reason that passive income matters to me is not for the income, right? Every nickel that I make in passive income, every nickel goes into my reserve account. Not 1 penny of it goes into my operating account. And those are legacy-based investments for me. So my business provides the lifestyle that I need. And my passive income is only used to make more passive income. So isn't that incredible freedom? That if 2 planes hit skyscrapers and all trucks get parked for 30 days, totally extreme example, never going to happen. But what if it did? Right? As long as people live in those apartment complexes, I'm going to be all right. In your world, I just love your business model, and I love it for the passive income piece, but I really love it because you're solving a problem that people don't know they have. And that problem, even if someone is light on their income, your product fixes it. And I see so many people who say, we just can't afford insurance. How am I going to fix this problem? How am I going to do it? And the answer is for $100 a month. And I don't know exactly how it breaks out of Primerica, but you get $250,000 worth of life insurance. Let me tell you something. My brother-in-law, who we loved, and my wife, Rocky, you could not have picked a worse person to leave her life. And I mean it with me and maybe even the 3 boys. She and her brother were so close. And to see the guilt that he had when he got diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, knowing that he probably wasn't going to pull it out and that he was going to leave a wife and 4 kids with nothing, and it could have been fixed for $100 a month. Can you imagine, as you know, if he had left his family with $250,000, everything would have changed. The whole future would have been different. And instead he left them with 0. And it broke our hearts. And the saddest part is that it broke his heart when he was trying to get better, man. And he just knew that he screwed up in that category. Good dad, good husband, loved by a lot of people, but he didn't handle his money situation, and it has wreaked havoc on his heirs. For $100 a month. They all had the iPhones, dude. They all had lovely clothes. For $100 a month. Can you imagine? Imagine what 200 could do. Could you imagine what $300 a month that got you $1 million on your death? Now they're living in tall cotton.
Right.
Everything's good. In fact, they're living better now than when your ass was alive.
Right. And by the way, isn't that what we want?
I hope so.
Isn't that what we want? If I go tomorrow, I want to make sure my family doesn't blink an eye. It's like, And I tell them all the time, I said, the only thing I ask is throw a big party, man. Go have some good time. Don't make it a sad moment, right? Don't make it a sad situation. Make it a happy moment. Make it an exciting, celebrate the life of, whatever I might have been able to do. And instead of it being a sad thing. But hey, look, man, I mean, you've had an amazing journey, Matt. And it's for me, I feel like, cause obviously I follow a lot of your stuff and I resonate a lot with your thinking and I've just been completely inspired by what you've done. I mean, your book, You Need More Money it's one of my favorite books. It will go on my, you must read book list. And, but look, I want you to end with us today and tell me a little bit about the dream, man. Sell me the dream a little bit because, look, man, we all know you worked hard. We all know you paid the price. We all know that it hasn't been easy every step of the way. And you went through a lot of struggle growing up. But tell us, man, why it's worth it. Tell me some fun things that you get to do and the lifestyle you live. And, tell us a little bit about that, man.
Well, I mean, look, I got more to do, man. I was at this event in Boston, I don't know, 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago. By the way, one of my primary core values in my life is to be a better father to my children than my father was to me, right? And I even had a good buddy of mine question me on that because I couldn't go to this thing with him the other night because I had my son's game. He says, he's got 4 kids. He goes, I never go to my kids' games. I want them to be totally reliant on themselves, And I said, well, that's cool if that's your core value. I said, but when I was a kid coming off the field, I always looked in the stands, and I always wished somebody was there, other than my mom. Who's the male figure that was there? And nobody was, man. My old man never came, and yeah, why that was, I couldn't imagine. By the way, I just want to be clear on this. I have no resentment towards him whatsoever. We have a decent relationship today. I talk to him, maybe once a week or so, tell him I love him. But why did he miss that? Right? Why did he make that trade? And so a lot of my life is based on that. My point in bringing it up is, I missed one of Johnny Boy's games on that Thursday night, and it totally reinvigorated me because what I should have done was had a jet, and I should have gone to the event on Thursday, left at about 3, flown from Boston back to Dallas, watched his game, told the pilot, spool up, gone back to Boston, been there for 7 a.m. on Friday. Dude, that's controlling time. And so the dream is to be able to control your own time. Most people are so blasé when it comes to their time. Dude, my time is so freaking valuable to me. Johnny Boy's my oldest is in spring football. Their practice starts at 4:00. Guess who will be there at 4:00 today? Right there on the sideline, watching old Johnny Boy, baking in the Texas heat, right? And Johnny Boy just knows, man, I see it. He looks over and he sees me on the sidelines, and then he goes back to it. And I said, bam, that's core value right there, man. I begged for that when I was his age. Where is that person? And now every freaking time I'm there. And the Rocker's the same way. In fact, the Rocker's probably me times 2, right? I mean, she's incredible when it comes to that stuff. Those are the reasons why you want the dream, man. And by the way, you can't do any of that at scale without people. It doesn't happen if you're the solopreneur, man. If you're the guy who opens and closes and has to close every deal and ship every order, it doesn't work. You must have people. And those people will not resent you when you do that if you're doing it right. In fact, they'll fuel you. My CEO says, what are you doing here? Like, what are you here today? Why? We were talking, and we have rhythms in our office. Some people might call them meetings. We call them rhythms. And she's like, why are you worried about that data point? She's like, you shouldn't be worried about that data point. Why are you worried about the people's call volume? Why Hector's call volume's down? Why are you bringing it up to me in this rhythm? Jim's job is to manage Hector. Why are you worried about it? And I tried to come up with some bullshit like, well, that's like saying to the restaurant owner that, when he sees the plate go out without a sprinkle of parsley on it. She's like, no, not the same example. I said, the way you do everything is the way you do anything. And she's like, no, that's not it either. You're just micromanaging. Go to the game. Go do something else. So I know it's a little bit of digression on your question, but the dream is different for everybody, dude. I'm not here to tell somebody what it is. I'm here to tell people to start building it out, though. And it's really tough to do without some passive income. If every dollar rides on your back, it's very, very hard to love your life. And that's hard.
Love that stuff, man. I mean, this is, Matt, I'm telling you, we could do this for freaking 2 more hours. And man, you're a survivor, freaking tough as nails, man. I mean, quit drinking in 1997. I mean, that's going to inspire a lot of people, man, because, you know, they look at your life and they go, man, he's got it. You know, not that any of us are perfect, but man, he's got it. Like what I love about you, Matt, is, man, you know what you want and you go get it. That's it. I mean, if there was a how to summarize this whole conversation, it's like, find out what you want, man. Find out why you want it, and then put in the steps to go get it. Because like you said, everybody's dream is different, man. You know, I mean, the podcast is called Wealth on the Beach, man. Well, shit, some people don't like the beach. Some people don't like the sand. You know what I mean? It ain't about that. I mean, the wealth on the beach is like, dude, you get to choose. We got one shot at this game called life, man. And you get to choose. You want to have wealth in the mountains, man? Go have wealth on the mountains. And so look, I mean, you know, 24 years in business, you know, learn from the right, you know, books and, you know, self-help out there. Risk is mitigated by the knowledge. And, you know, you got to do the work, man. Leadership, we need to be more, you know, servant leaders out there, trustworthy, man. Remember that you only have so much credibility, and you better do what you say you're going to do. How bad do you want it, man? And you got to be a closer. You got to learn how to close. You got to sell, and you got to make sure that you get your passive income.
Daniel, I'd love to challenge the audience with one other thing too, because all that recap that you just gave is awesome and I believe totally accurate. But if it's done in the wrong platform, you're just spinning your wheels, man. People pick the wrong industries. They pick things that are never going to get them financially free or rich. You know, I use in the book the example of a guy working at Subway who wants a Lambo. Dude, it ain't going to work. It doesn't happen that way. And people often underpick their platforms. And, you know, how do you pick the right platform is a question I get a lot. You find out who the number one guy is in that platform, and you go take them out to lunch, and you learn from there. You say, could I be that guy or gal? Could I do what they do? Do I have the same level of skill set? That has been a primary motivator for me my whole life. How did that guy get it is what I say all the time. How does, like, you know, I'm friends with this billionaire, and I'm like, man, that guy's not that much smarter than me, man. Like, you know, that guy's like, how did he get it? You know? And when I ask him that question, he says through laser focus on what it is that I want. Now, this guy also owns a majority owner of a pro hockey team. This guy, if I mention his name, you'd know him if you follow any of the you know, latest sports news, because he's been on it pretty heavily lately. It's about focus. I mean, when this guy had multi-thousands of employees for the publicly traded company that he was running, he asked me, how many projects do you have going on in your office? And I wanted to impress him. And I said, oh, probably 50. And he goes like this, no. We have 1 or 2 projects at any given time in here. I pour all our resources into it. At the end of the year, we complete 52 to 104 projects. He says, that's how we move the needle. So I challenge everybody to get really serious on your choice of your platform. You're in an incredible platform. And how would you know that? You may not. But now people can look to you and say, well, Daniel did it. And you could look to Hector and say, well, Hector did it. And then you can go take Hector out to lunch, and he'll tell you in 1 hour when you buy him a sandwich exactly how to do it. Is that reasonable?
That's it. That's it. And look, they could do even better than that, because all they have to do is go back and watch or listen to the podcast that I did with Hector, and he'll tell them exactly how he did it. Yeah. And so that's even easier. So Wealth on the Beach podcast. Hey, look, share this podcast, please, everyone. Follow us on Instagram, Matt Manero at Matt Manero Instagram. He's on Facebook. He's on all the different social media platforms. We're still signing up people every day on Wealth on the Beach Club every week with me, 9 a.m. Wednesday mornings. for 1 hour Q&A lesson. It's incredible. Check out alonzoacademy.com for more details. And of course, also view our YouTube channel. Lots and lots of great free content. I'm doing this, Matt, because I really have a desire. I've always had a desire. I mean, I've spoke all over the country for free, by the way, for countless organizations for the last 20-something years. I have made my life about helping people and delivering value to the masses. I mean, that's my life, man. I mean, I've never made millions of dollars on books. I've never made millions of dollars on courses or millions of dollars on events. But I can tell you this. Today, we have one of the most incredible leadership team in the history of the company. We're one of the most successful organizations in the history of the company because of our people, because I've just poured in through the last 20 years. And of course, now today, we've got a lot of successful people, a lot of people that are doing well. And so you're right, Matt, about serving. That's what this whole world is the direction that we're going to. And so can't imagine, I just can't even thank you enough for being on with us today. I appreciate you. Love being in your circle. And if there's anything we can ever do for you, Matt, don't ever hesitate to pick up the phone and call. Okay.
But it's back at you. It's absolutely my pleasure. It's wonderful to be with you, man. I love you.
Appreciate it. Dream bigger than ever. Do it now.